protect you in many cases? Maybe, maybe not. All right? And if you fire it off in the subway, you get arrested, that's not good for you. All right? Good.
Now, what about a rape whistle?
A rape whistle is fine because it will bring attention to you, and it is a plan, but the problem is the plan only goes how far? Yeah, get attention. Now, this is kind of like when people yell fire. Is everybody going to pay attention?
No.
No. So if that is your only option and it works, great. If it's not, if it's your only option and they keep coming towards you, you got a problem because now the whistle's not going to save you.
Now, let's go further. What about, for instance, a taser?
All right, let's go with a taser. Should you be trained before you use a taser?
Yeah.
You know, I have more people who are like, going into Walmart, I'm getting my shotgun. No! Seriously. All right, if you're one of the reasons why in RAD, we always teach basic self-defense first is because what are you always going to have on you?
Your body.
Your body. That's right. Whatever you have on you, your body, whatever mechanisms that you have around you, you're going to have those with you. That's what you're going to use. You know, anything extra that you use, you should always be trained to use. Is a taser a nice weapon? Sure it is. Problem with it is, in many cases, it can only be used once. And if you miss, again, what's your backup? So that's kind of what you do. Now, another example of a weapon that we oftentimes I work with students on after they've taken basic physical defense is something that's like a keychain device. All right? What does this also look like?
A knife or like a holder?
Yeah, actually a pen or a pencil. Can you use a pen or a pencil to defend yourself?
Yeah.
All right, give me you can. That's right. Do I want to use that first? Probably not. I'm going to use one. But again, this is the keychain weapon. What we do is swing this. This is what I use when I take my dog out to poo. Okay, why do I use this to take my dog out to poo? Because finding poo in the dark is really hard. All right? So, but can I use this to hit somebody in the throat with?
Yeah.
If I hand this to her, please don't hit me. If I hand this to her, if she practices, might she have the ability to hit me with it? Yeah, might that discourage me from attacking her? Yeah, I might. Darn right, I like that. All right? Yeah, it's possible. But again, if she doesn't practice with it, does it do her any good? No. So again, and if she doesn't have it on her, oh, and what I always like is in the movies, in the horror movies, the heroine always throws her keys at the attacker. I'm like, won't you need those later? Seriously, do you need these later? Because if you don't, throw them at the attacker, not a good idea. Where do I get these from? Good question. This one, actually, I got at Walmart. Okay, and basically it's just a flashlight. All right, and if you're carrying a flashlight and mag lights work, they have kind of the mini mag lights that work. They look exactly like this, except they don't have keychains. This you can actually buy at a self-defense store, usually for like $10 on the internet. All right, what you don't want to do is buy the one you have to unscrew and has spikes in it. Because A, not a good, that's a dangerous weapon, and B, do you really have time to unscrew it if you're being attacked? Yeah. And that's kind of the problem with mace, is because this mace I love because it's got a little protective cap on the top, so you got to be able to flip the cap and fire it at the same time. All right, yeah, see, problem with that. All right, so you need to identify the vulnerable locations and you need to use your personal weapons. Okay, and then the rest of the basic principles that you see on there. One is to avoid confronting force with force. So that means if somebody grabs onto you, if I come up and I grab onto her, don't try to pull against me, because who's going to get tired first?
We are.
Yeah, she's going to get tired first. Why? Because I'm bigger than her. That's just the way physics works. All right? But if she doesn't fight against me and she lets me come in and looks for my vulnerable locations, then what happens?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm exposed. That's right. This is what we call the difference between offensive and defensive postures. Defensive posture is when you're moving away from somebody and you can cover up your vulnerable locations. But in many cases, for me to attack her without a weapon, I got to reach out and grab her, which puts me really close, which makes her go, what am I going to hit? All right, which weapon am I going to use? And can you use a pencil or a pen? Sure you can. All right, if you can get it. But again, it depends on what you practice and how much ability you have. That's kind of the question that you're always looking for. All right. You'll also see on here that is a, let's see. And again, one of the things it says is avoid panic, and we talked about that. All right, if you panic, what tends to happen?
You're gonna lose battle.
Yeah, you're off balance, you freeze, nothing happens. So if you can avoid panic, what's the easiest way to avoid panic?
Be prepared.
Be prepared and?
Have a thought processing.
And that's part of be prepared. I'll take both of those. What's the last one on the sheet? Anybody see? Practice. That's the way to not panic, is to practice. All right? And you'll see that this one, it says disengage and run. And obviously, for many of you, it's disengage and escape. All Okay, and that's okay. Right? And you'll see at the bottom of this, there's a thing that talks about principles of striking. And basically, the principles of striking that we always practice in RAD is how quick can you get there and how powerful can you make it. All right, and it doesn't necessarily need to be all that powerful if you hit the right target. Even if you hit them in the eyes, what do many people do when you try to hit them in the eyes?
Recoil.
Yeah, why?
They don't want to get hit.
That's right. So for those of you who've seen drivers, you know that big pebble hits the windshield. What do you tend to do?
Hit the brakes.
Yeah, hit the brakes and you tend to move backwards. Is that rock going to hit you? No, there's a windshield there. But even so, your natural reaction is to move away. You start aiming at people's eyes and they're like, whoa, okay. All right? But again, you got to be willing to do that. You need to have practice. You need to identify vulnerable locations. And one of the things that you'll see that I brought with me, because I only brought props today, because, sorry, not hitting anything today, only a 1-hour presentation, but how could she practice with that in class? There you go. Okay, yes, she could practice like that in class. And what I'd encourage her to do if she could is to make her a little spear hand. In the kids program, we teach ducks. All right? But a spear. Why would the spear be nice for her?
Continue.
Yeah. All right? And if she keeps practicing it, will she get better at it?
Yes.
Will she be more effective at it? Yeah. And one of the other things we do in RAD is we practice me trying to make sure that she's safer. So if she can use one of her hands to keep me from hitting her in the head, wouldn't that be better? Why? I go to try to hit her in the head, all right? And she puts up that hand and keeps me from hitting her in the head. Is that better or worse for her? Why is it better? Yeah. And also, if you're knocked unconscious, how defensive are you going to be? Yeah, not very. Okay? But all of that is part of what program do you do and who do you do it with? All right? So like in her particular case, could I find her a class around? Usually there's a RAD instructor around who can assist her? Sure. All right? And will she be in a class with very varied groups of people and different physical abilities? Sure. All right? And all I care about is, does she have a plan that works for her? Okay? Doesn't matter which college woman I work with or which college man I work with, the question will always be, do you have a plan that will work for you? All right? And if you don't, then the question is, what precautions are you taking to avoid? Because again, we're at that 90%. Are we at all times going to be able to avoid confrontation? No. It's going to happen. No matter how safe you are, unless you live in a bubble, pre-powered, and don't leave it, okay, there is no way to avoid things. All right? There's a way to cut down and reduce your risk, but there's no way to totally erase risk. And you all know this. I'm just talking to the choir now. Because you all out there, you know, there's no way to reduce that risk. But for me, the reason why I believe Heather brought me in today was to talk about these particular issues and get you thinking about them